Today is a great, wonderful, amazing, incredible day, and I'll tell you why. Because it's a Dutch day, but not just a Dutch day, but a Dutch cultural day. How the Netherlands became a living hell. Without further ado, let's get into this reaction. Let's go.
The Netherlands is celebrated for its fairness, but the system is failing. Housing protests have amassed huge turnouts. The Dutch have a unique housing market, of which social housing is a cornerstone. They have by far the largest share of social housing in the developed world.
Wow. You have the largest. So there's a lot of social housing. So there are a lot of unemployed people then in your country. Let me know in the comment section below. We're quite high up though. We're number 4, to be fair.
About a third of all homes are kept off the market to be managed by an NGO. Their goal is not to make money, but to provide affordable rental homes. And the eligibility requirements are met by 40% of the population. But whenever there is a housing protest, a common demand is to add even more social housing and to make them even more accessible. But despite the Netherlands already having the largest share of social housing, they also have the most overburdened rental market in the developed world. 25% of Dutch citizens spend more than 40% of their income on rent.
Mate, that's why we're on the list. We're number 6, and it's not obviously not high up, but we've got that problem here. Like, rent is expensive in the UK, especially in London, but obviously in the Netherlands it seems like it's even crazier.
Something is clearly not working, and I want to find out what it is. This is why the Dutch are in deep trouble with hindsight. Over the past years, major protests have erupted.
Het gaat over de basis van de mens en dat is een huis.
Dat willen we eruit halen, de sociale woningbouw komt.
The goal of these protesters is often to add more social housing to the existing housing stock. And that seems to make sense on a gut level. But
adding more social housing. Interesting. Will that fix the problem though? Because clearly you guys have the most social housing out of all of your number 1. So adding more social housing, so it's saying more affordable housing. I don't know how your social housing system works. Let me know in the comment section below. Do you guys get a subsidy from the government? Do they give you money into your bank account and then you pay for the rent, or is the rent just cheaper? I don't know how your social housing system works. You're asking for more social housing. However, is that going to solve the problem of the fact that there isn't affordable housing? Isn't that just like a money problem? Isn't that this inflation problem? What? I don't know. I don't know enough. I'll keep watching, but let me know in the comment section.
I want to look at the whole picture. So I went into the archives and I pulled up some of the most interesting statistics, and I found a lot of really eye-opening things. To understand the long-term trend, it's important that we start by understanding how the housing market took shape.
Yeah. That's what I want to know.
Around the mid-1850s, the working class was moving to the cities to work in factories. In just 3 decades, the population of cities like Amsterdam, Rotterdam and The Hague more than doubled. But living conditions were often poor. This affected the productivity and health of workers. So some entrepreneurs started woningbouwverenigingen, housing associations. These were privately owned companies with shareholders. There existed some 200 of them, and by the turn of the century, they provided about 10,000 families with homes. It was still a small segment of housing, but that would change.
Behind are the grim years of famine and oppression. The bands play and the people welcome the dawn of a free new day.
World War II left the country in ruins. Of all Dutch homes, nearly a fifth was damaged and tens of thousands were heavily damaged or destroyed. There was a massive shortage of homes, or woningnood, how the Dutch called it. 250,000 homes were needed. The government was tasked with a momentous challenge, but they had an idea. Housing associations had primarily existed to house workers, but the government placed them under tight supervision, and they provided billions in funding to let them supply hundreds of thousands of affordable homes for all Dutch citizens. It led to a building frenzy. Between 1950 and 1980, they added 2.5 million new homes,
Wow.
almost doubling the entire housing stock. The shortage of homes now dropped from around 300,000 in 1945 to about 75,000 in 1970.
Question: what type of homes were built though? Because to build homes that quickly, the quality of those homes can't be that good. Do you know what I mean? Like, I've seen a lot of beautiful buildings in videos of the Netherlands, right? So, but I'm sure in the suburbs and stuff where they've had to rebuild homes, are they like really ugly buildings? I just got a feeling they are, because when obviously the war obviously happened in the UK as well, you know, there's a lot of cities that got decimated and towns and stuff, and there was a lot of rebuilding that had to happen, especially the second biggest city in the UK called Birmingham. Half of the city got destroyed, so they had to rebuild it, and it's not the buildings that they've rebuilt are not nice. They're not nice because they had to do them quite quickly because there was a housing shortage. So I want to know, let me know in the comment section, if the houses that they've built or these apartments that they've built, are they not very nice? Because I know, like, when you watch a video about a country and they always show the best parts of a country, but they never show the more decimated parts, the parts that are not very sightly. So let me know in the comment section.
Housing associations played a crucial part of this, and they were basically an extension of the government. But after the housing shortage was somewhat relieved, they started to liberalize. One of their goals was to encourage homeownership. In 1945, most people were still living in a privately rented apartment. Over the years, this figure dropped substantially to just 19%. Homeownership had become more common. This was encouraged by the government, amongst other things, with the hypotheekrenteaftrek, a tax break for homeowners.
And this is how they fucked us. Excuse my French, because I think I know where this is going, because this is a problem throughout Europe. It's a problem in the UK. Our generation, millennials and Gen Zs, we are fucked. When it comes to owning a house, we're pretty much that. Like, I don't know if you're a millennial or you're a Gen X or you're a boomer. You need to listen to the millennials and the Gen Zs and the new ones coming up, because we are struggling to get on the housing ladder, because all the homes were subsidized with tax breaks, and people were encouraged, our parents and our parents' were encouraged to get on the housing ladder and buy up all the houses for quite cheap. And then, obviously, because of inflation, house prices have blown up, right? To a point where people like myself, millennials, younger people, are finding it very difficult to get on the housing ladder. And it's not fair. It's not fair. And that's why there's a housing shortage in the UK as well, because of that reason. And because house prices are so expensive, obviously rent is also very expensive. So if this is the reason why you're in the situation you're in, we get it, because it's happening here.
For that same period, social housing had become a major segment of the housing stock, making up 43% of all homes at its peak in 1989. The transition to widespread social housing had cost the government billions, and in the 1980s and 90s, many felt that it was time for these associations to stand on their own feet. The government cut their funding, and from the mid-1990s and onwards, they started operating as non-profit private businesses. They had a social mission to provide affordable housing, but were now operating without any subsidies.
So in many socialist countries, these types of homes are owned by the state, whereas in countries like the United States, housing is almost entirely driven by the market. But the Dutch created a hybrid model.
Non-profit housing operated with market-oriented principles. So how did it go wrong?
So the only reason why we can make these videos is because we have sponsors. They help us pay for editors and writers, and today's sponsor has been a longtime friend of the channel.
If you're watching this video without a premium subscription, or if you're using any service on the internet with robot calls, exactly of which list your data has recently been deleted.
If you want to restore your privacy, Incogni is offering a 60% discount of an annual plan if you use my link in the pinned comment or in the description. That is 60% off a yearly plan. And now, let's go back to the Netherlands.
Housing was historically considered a social good, but it became a tool for building wealth.
So I mentioned that tax break for homeowners, and that's a good example.
It was originally conceived to encourage people to buy a home. If you buy a house for $500,000 and get a typical 30-year mortgage with a 4% interest rate, you pay about €360,000 in interest, which was made tax deductible. Homeowners, while paying off their mortgage, save over €130,000 in taxes.
That's great if you own your house, but here's the problem.
You got a major tax break, but your neighbor who rents a similar house didn't get any of that. In other words, the system drives inequality between people who own and people who rent.
And that's just a small piece of the puzzle.
Social housing exists for the 40% of people with the lowest incomes. Housing associations build and manage these homes, and the first years after being deregulated were ridden with scandal.
De Rotterdam voeren de nieuwe waterweg uit.
This is the SS Rotterdam, a cruise ship that was launched in 1958. It has since traveled the world until, after decades of service in 2000, it was time to retire.
So what does this have to do with housing? Nothing.
But a major housing association in Rotterdam purchased this ship for €30 million. They started renovations with the idea to convert it into a hotel and a tourist attraction.
This raised a lot of eyebrows because the mission of a social housing organization is to provide affordable housing. Don't forget.
And yet it's getting into building a hotel. Well, it's because the government subsidies have been cut, right? So then they need to make money from somewhere. So then that's what's happened.
Again, they're a non-profit. So why would they get involved with this kind of projects?
But then they had an unexpected setback. They believed that they would spend about €6 million for the renovation, but it ended up costing $256 million.
These stories led to a debate about whether housing associations should perhaps be regulated a little bit more. And that's what started happening in the early 2010s.
But more cracks started to show. In Amsterdam, the city with the highest cost of living and arguably the hardest place to find an affordable home in the city center, housing associations started selling their assets en masse. As a result, this reduced the affordable housing stock in the city center. This contributed to a higher cost of rent because the prices of private rentals were increasing faster than those of social rentals. But it was designed to make housing less dependent on social housing. In 2013, the government imposed the verhuurdersheffing, the landlord levy. This tax forced housing associations to pay billions of euros to the state and to push more houses to the private market.
One of the goals of these policies was to make it easier for people to buy a home by increasing the availability of houses on the private market.
But the rate of homeownership.
That doesn't increase people to buy homes. That doesn't help people buy homes because there's more availability, because it's not going to push the house prices down. The supply is not going to increase enough to outweigh the demand. It's just not. It's really not. And it's not going to beat like the way inflation is moving. Like, house prices are not going to go down because there's more houses. Like, it's just not.
Didn't change at all. It basically flatlined. And now with these measures, it became more difficult for housing associations to build new homes.
The state is obliged to reduce greenhouse gas emissions by the end of 2020.
In 2019, a court ruling forced the Netherlands to lower their emissions of nitrogen. And this immediately froze 18,000 projects, including the construction of 75,000 housing units.
Why would that freeze? Why would that stop people from building houses? Like, what?
The rate of construction was already trending downwards, while over this same period, the shortage of homes was increasing. In 1945, there was a shortage of about 300,000 homes. This lowered over the next years, but especially in these last 2 decades, it really got out of control, with a peak of 450,000 homes in 2025. In numbers, not percentages, the Netherlands now has a greater housing shortage than in the years after World War II.
That's bad.
In 2020, 1 in every 3 homes in Amsterdam was sold to foreigners.
You see that right there? That's where we have a problem in the UK as well. They keep selling these homes to foreign people in the the United Arab, them Arab nations there where they got the money, that oil money, and they're coming and buying all the houses. Then normal people can't afford the houses because the houses are bought, and then they're renting them out for like extortionate amounts of money. It's wrong. How can, if you pay tax in a country, if you are a resident, not just a resident, you are a national, you live there, you were born there, why can't you get on the housing ladder? Why are people from another country allowed to come into your country and take up the houses? Like, it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. We need to switch from making housing shouldn't be an investment. Do you know what I mean? I know you guys are like, what? No, it shouldn't be an investment. It needs to be an investment. No, but if housing wasn't an investment, then house prices wouldn't be going up. House prices should be fixed. We need to find something else to hold on to earn wealth instead of hoarding all these houses. The reason why these wealthy people hoard houses is because they know it's a good investment because the price will just go up because there's going to be a shortage and the supply and demand is always going to be the same. It's always going to be tighter. They're always going to make money. They've got all these millions of pounds and millions of euros to just throw into housing projects. Like, we need to de-incentivize these millionaires from purchasing the houses. It needs to be hostile. Hit them with taxes. I don't know. We need to do something to stop them purchasing all these houses, and so that normal people can get on the housing ladder. There shouldn't be any homeless. I'm not sure about in the Netherlands, but in the UK, there's so many people that are homeless. And in a Western country, when you hold that passport, when you are a national, especially if you were born there, like, you should not be struggling to get a house. We live in one of the wealthiest nations on the planet. Like, it shouldn't be happening. It shouldn't be happening anywhere in Europe, period. Right, that's my rant over. That's my rant over. But I know you agree. Like, no one should be struggling to get affordable housing in our countries when we have so much money. It's negligence. Like, we shouldn't be doing that to the people that are paying taxes in the country. Anyways,
debate about opkoopbescherming, purchase protection. The policy aimed to protect homes that were owner-occupied to be bought up by investors. It was rolled out in most major cities. In 2021, over 15,000 people participated in a march demanding more affordable housing. It was the largest housing protest in decades. The cost of housing had nearly doubled in the 10 years between 2012 and 2022.
This is what I mean.
And between these 2 years alone, home prices increased by 20%.
Ridiculous.
People were angry. The policies that were supposed to provide more affordable homes and to make buying easier, renting cheaper, and they were intended to create more equality in the housing market were failing miserably for them. And now there's a new plan.
I refuse to purchase I don't know. I'm sure a lot of you are homeowners. I refuse to purchase a house for like $250,000, $500,000, whatever, pounds, euros. I just houses shouldn't cost that much. It doesn't make sense. It does not make sense. You know? You shouldn't be spending multiples of your yearly salary just to get a house. No, I refuse. I think the only time I'm going to own a house is when I inherit one from my parents. Like, they're just... nah. They make you a slave as well. Because get a mortgage, you're paying that shit off for how long? No. To only own your house when you're about to... When when you're close to dying? Like, no. My parents have just paid off their house, and they're in their 60s. They only just now own their home, and when they purchased their home cost like £70,000. Now the home costs £400,000, 400 and whatever £1,000. Like, how do you expect young people to get onto the housing ladder when homes, a nice home where I live in the UK is approaching £500,000. A standard nice home, not something big and luxurious. Standard nice home, 3-bedroom home, 1 or 2 bathrooms, £500,000. At least £500,000. It's crazy.
One of the main goals of the current government is to build 900,000 new homes by 2030. They are broken down like this: 300,000 or...
It's not the building of homes. I keep hearing building of homes. I don't feel like it's the amount of homes available, because there are houses that have been purchased by rich multi-millionaire people from other countries that are vacant. I don't know about in the Netherlands, but in the UK, there are homes that have no one living inside of them. Let me say that again. There are homes in the UK that have been purchased, are owned by rich multi-millionaires, empty, nobody inside of them. Why? Because it's a good way to park your cash. Park that cash, it's safe in that investment, and it'll go up over time. They've got so much cash they don't know what to do with it, so just buy homes and they just leave them empty. I don't think there's a shortage of homes. There is a shortage of affordable housing, but I don't think building more housing is going to solve that problem, unless the houses that you build, you say it cannot be purchased as an investment. It can only be purchased by the people that live in that country and are nationals, and we're going to cap the price of these houses. That's the only way. But we'll see. I don't know what their plan is, but...
A third is expected to be built and managed by social housing organizations.
Okay.
So the government still believes in this approach.
I opened this video by showing that the Netherlands has both a very large percentage of social housing, and at the same time they have a remarkably high percentage of renters that are overburdened by the cost of rent. But I don't mean to imply that this is caused by social housing, or that social housing has a net negative effect on the housing market. It is more complex than that.
For decades, the Netherlands didn't build enough homes, and construction is now hindered by goals to reduce emissions. The Dutch population has grown faster than anybody expected.
Right.
People bought more homes as an investment, and strict land use restrictions, labor shortages, and rising construction costs have all contributed to a slow response to rapidly increasing demand.
Much of this is rooted in policy. The Dutch have tried to balance their social mission with advantages of a market-oriented approach, but they have moved too far in either direction in the past, and we've lived through the consequences.
The Dutch are in uncharted territory. This has never been done before.
Then, on a final note, in last week's video about Poland, I did something that I've only done once before on this channel. I went on camera and I explained that lately we've not been so lucky with the YouTube algorithm. And one of the reasons that I saw for this was a lack of positive engagement. So what I did is I asked you to like the video and to subscribe to the channel, and so many of you did. It felt incredible, but it did so much more than that. So if I open my YouTube Studio app, it actually said that this video did better than others because more subscribers were choosing to engage with this video. So it was actually your positive feedback that made this video blow up. And please continue. For you, placing a like and writing a comment or subscribing to the channel...
It's true. Everything that he's saying is very, very true. Sorry, I was just so engaged in that. Like, comment, subscribe, because I forget to tell you guys to like and comment and subscribe, but it's very true. Like, you guys engaging helps channels grow. We're growing really quickly at the moment, and thank you for everyone that's subscribed, because we're like already like over 1,000 by like 300 subscribers, which is crazy. But yeah, keep growing, keep subscribing, because you're gonna get a video every day. And apart from tomorrow, maybe not, I'm getting my tooth out, guys. I'm getting my tooth removed today after this video. So my wisdom tooth, I'm a bit anxious about it. I'm like, oh, because I don't like dentists, but that's gonna cause a problem, because I'm probably not gonna be able to do a video for a couple of days. So hopefully I'm gonna try and push these videos out. But yeah, like and subscribe. I'm scared getting my tooth out. I think this video's done now.
Effort, but for me it means all the difference in the world, and it actually makes it viable to make these videos and to spend so much.
Is this how he's ended the video? That's crazy. He didn't really conclude the story, did he? He didn't really conclude the story. He's like, yeah, they're building social housing. That's it. Yeah, it remains to be seen, guys. Let me know if when they build this social housing and it goes onto the market, let me know if it's affordable. Let me know if you can afford it, because yeah, your rent is high. There is a crisis. You guys want to own houses. We want to own houses. It makes complete sense. But building more housing, is that going to offset the fact that housing is expensive? I don't think so. I don't think so. I don't think so. Affordable housing. Building housing doesn't make houses more affordable. Anyways, guys, thank you very much for watching. Until the next one, I will see you very soon.